What was Olivier Polge actually whispering to Jungkook in that silent room filled with perfume bottles? And why did that brief moment feel far heavier than a mere promotional interview for a luxury fragrance? That question does not arise without reason. In the landscape of the global fashion and beauty industry, usually noisy with camera flashes, light laughter, and safe, polished narratives, the meeting between Jungkook and Olivier Polge appeared in an almost peculiar form. Quiet, minimalist, nearly meditative. There were no verbal explosions, no bombastic claims about revolutionary innovation. Yet it is precisely there that the strangeness lies. In a world where everything is designed to be seen, why did Chanel choose to present silence? Why was Jungkook, a global icon followed by millions of eyes, shown walking alone through an empty room before sitting face to face with a man who holds the secrets of some of the most legendary fragrances in the world? The teaser video released through Instagram by El Korea was short in duration, yet its impact felt long-lasting. In clips reshared by the fan account at jimochii on platform X, Jungkook appeared wearing an elegant black suit, almost devoid of ornamentation. There were no oversized logos, no striking accents. He walked slowly, as if entering a space that was not merely physical but symbolic. The minimalist room was more than a backdrop, it felt like a transitional space, a place where one identity is left behind and another is prepared to be received. When Jungkook finally sat down with Olivier Polge at a work table filled with perfume bottles, scent creation tools, and mysterious liquids in clear glass, the camera captured something rarely seen in luxury campaigns: vulnerability. Polge, Chanel's in-house perfumer creator whose name is etched behind iconic creations such as Bleu de Chanel and the modern reinterpretations of Chanel No. 5, did not present himself as a dominant, lecturing figure. He spoke softly, almost like a mentor carefully weighing each word. Jungkook, meanwhile, was not positioned as an idol merely listening to praise, but as a subject invited into a conversation about process, time, and freedom. Here emerged the first clue that this meeting was not just another interview. Polge spoke about mastering the stages of the profession, about the importance of creating raw materials as a path toward creative freedom. The statement sounded academic, even philosophical. By mastering various stages of the profession, such as making raw materials, one gains the freedom to create, Polge said in the video's subtitles. To casual viewers, this might sound like a technical explanation of the perfume world. But to those accustomed to reading symbols within creative industries, the word freedom always carries a deeper weight. Freedom from what? From whom? And why was that word spoken directly in front of Jungkook? Jungkook is not an ordinary figure. As a member of BTS, he has lived for years within the tight structure of the entertainment industry, where every movement, every word, and even silence itself can become public consumption. When he mentioned Bleu de Chanel as his favorite scent because of its free and natural nuance, the statement felt like more than a personal preference. He was speaking about fragrance, yet it seemed he was also speaking about an inner state, about the desire to remain whole as time passes, about woody elements that endure, even as other layers fade. Was this mere coincidence or a veiled confession? The visuals presented reinforced that impression. Close-ups of Chanel No. 5 and Bleu de Chanel alternated with images of vast flower fields, roses, jasmine, natural ingredients that form the foundation of legendary perfumes. Yet the camera never lingered there for long. It returned to the work table, to moments when Jungkook and Polge smelled the fragrances, briefly closed their eyes, then opened them again with expressions difficult to interpret. Not every second was subtitled. Not every conversation was translated. In those pauses, suspicion emerged. Something was intentionally left unheard. El Korea described the meeting as a meeting between two icons who embody the present and the future of Chanel fragrance. The sentence sounds beautiful, almost poetic, but when examined more closely, it carries significant implications. The present and the future rarely sit side by side without a process of transfer. In the history of major fashion houses, symbolic transitions often occur not through official announcements, but through subtle gestures. Who is invited into the workspace? Who is granted access to the process? Who hears the whisper, rather than just the slogan? Army's reactions on social media added an emotional layer to this narrative. Hashtags such as hashtag #JUNGKOKXNLBY and hashtag Jungkook South Korea quickly dominated X. Comments praised Jungkook's charisma, his royal aura, his mature and calm elegance. Yet amid the euphoria, almost no one questioned what was actually happening behind the scenes. We were too busy admiring the outcome to examine the process, when in fact the process was the very core of Jungkook and Polge's conversation. The fact that this interview was labeled as the first part of the conversation opened even wider space for speculation. Why split it? Why not present it in full? In the media world, fragmentation is often less about duration and more about narrative control. What has not yet been shown? Is there a part that is too personal, too philosophical, or perhaps too risky to appear in a public teaser? As global ambassador for Chanel Beauty since last year, Jungkook has indeed continued to strengthen his position in the international fashion industry, following in the footsteps of his fellow BTS members in luxury collaborations. Yet this meeting felt different from typical high-end partnerships. There was no catwalk, no party, no crowd. There were only two men, an invisible aroma, and words about freedom, time, and endurance. It is within this context that the title "The Dark Secret Behind the Perfume Bottle" begins to find its footing. Dark does not mean evil, it means hidden. Secret does not mean scandal, it means something not yet ready to be revealed. Perhaps the whisper was merely about blending techniques. Perhaps it was about the history of flowers picked before dawn. But it is also possible that behind it all, there was a conversation about identity, about how a global idol learns to sense the world in a new way, and how a legendary fashion house chooses a face it believes can carry its heritage into the future. And if that is true, then the perfume bottle on the table is no longer just a vessel for scent, but a symbol of a transition in progress, slow, silent, yet filled with meaning. In Chanel's history, perfume is not merely a product, it is a language. It is a tool of intergenerational communication that is often more powerful than fashion or jewelry. Chanel No. 5, for example, is not simply a liquid scented with rose and jasmine. It is a cultural construction of femininity, modernity, and eternity. When Olivier Polge speaks about the process of creating flowers, about how roses and jasmine are treated not as ordinary raw materials but as living entities that must be understood, he is, in fact, reiterating an old Chanel philosophy that control over origins is the highest form of power. At this point, an important question begins to surface. Why is such a profound philosophy being discussed with Jungkook, a pop singer who, at least in the public eye, should merely serve as the face of a campaign? In many brand celebrity collaborations, conversations usually stop at safe words such as inspiration, lifestyle, or personal taste. Yet in that workspace, Polge instead drew Jungkook into a discourse about professional stages, craftsmanship, and creative freedom. This was not advertising language. This was internal language, the kind usually shared only among those within the inner circle. The camera captured Polge with calm gestures, almost like an academic explaining theory to a student. But Jungkook was not a passive pupil. His gaze was focused, his responses measured. When he spoke about Bleu de Chanel and the appeal of witty elements that endure over time, he did not sound like someone newly introduced to the world of perfume. There was depth of reflection there. The word endurance became a key term. Enduring time, enduring changing trends, enduring initial layers that may fade. In the context of Jungkook's career, the word felt far too precise to be dismissed as coincidence. South Korea's entertainment industry is known for its rapid cycles. Idols come and go. Trends shift within months. Yet Jungkook, together with BTS, has broken through that cycle and entered a different territory, the realm of global icons. When Chanel chose Jungkook as its global beauty ambassador, the decision was not merely about popularity, but about symbolic longevity. And here, scent becomes an almost perfect metaphor. A good perfume does not explode at the beginning and then disappear. It evolves, transforms, and leaves a trace that lingers on the skin. Is this coincidence? Or is Chanel framing Jungkook as a figure with similar qualities? The visuals of flower fields interwoven throughout the video reinforce this narrative. The flowers are beautiful, yet fragile. They must be picked at a specific time and processed in a specific way. Otherwise, their scent will vanish. This is work that demands discipline, patience, and total control over the process. Polge alluded to this when he spoke about the importance of creating raw materials oneself. In the world of perfume, this means independence from the market, from fluctuations in quality, from reliance on external parties. The creative freedom Polge refers to is not wild freedom, but freedom born of total mastery. So where does Jungkook stand in all of this? He sits before a symbol of Chanel's creative power, listening to philosophies long hidden behind elegant glass bottles. The fact that this conversation was recorded, edited, and shared with the public, even partially, signals that Chanel wants the world to see Jungkook not merely as a handsome face, but as someone worthy of being in that space. At the same time, not everything is shown. There are pauses, cuts, silences left untranslated. That is where narrative play begins. Modern media is no longer only about what is displayed, but also about what is concealed. By labeling the interview as the first part, El Korea and Chanel indirectly create narrative tension. They provide enough information to spark curiosity, while withholding enough detail to keep speculation alive. This is a classic yet effective strategy. The public begins to wonder, what will be discussed in the next part? Will Jungkook speak about his music in a way directly linked to scent? Will there be a confession that is more personal, more emotional? ARMY's response on social media demonstrates how this strategy works. Praise for Jungkook's visuals is intertwined with unanswered curiosity. Many sense that there is something different about this collaboration, even if it is difficult to articulate. The aura described as royal and elegant may actually be an intuitive response to a shift in framing. Jungkook is no longer placed in the context of youthful rebellion or raw energy, but in one of maturity, calm, and reflection. This image aligns with the world of luxury fragrance, while also marking a new phase in his public journey. Yet every shift in image comes at a cost. When someone enters a higher symbolic world, they also enter a stricter system of expectations. Chanel is not merely a brand. It is a cultural institution with a long history and exacting standards. By sitting at Olivier Polge's work table, Jungkook symbolically accepts that burden. He no longer carries only the name of BTS or ARMY, but also Chanel's narrative into a new generation. It is an exchange that appears beautiful on the surface, yet is complex beneath. This is where the term dark secret finds its more subtle meaning. Dark does not mean negative, but rather something that exists in areas rarely illuminated by spotlights. The secret may be the pressure to remain consistent with a carefully built image. It may be creative compromises never discussed in front of cameras, or it may be the realization that every chosen scent, every spoken word, now becomes part of a grand narrative that transcends the individual. When the camera returns to the bottle of Chanel No. 5 at the end of the teaser, it appears still, solid, and untouched by time. Yet we know that inside lies a complex liquid born of thousands of small decisions, of invisible labor. The same is true of the meeting between Jungkook and Olivier Polge. What we see is only the surface. Beneath it are layers of meaning, power, and strategy intertwined. And as this second part ends without definitive answers, one thing becomes clear. The strongest aromas are often those we are not fully conscious of, yet they continue to follow us long after we have left the room. Yet just as the public begins to feel that it understands the direction of this narrative, another, more unsettling question emerges. Was Jungkook truly only being invited to understand perfume, or was he being introduced to a new way of seeing himself, as a symbol larger than music, broader than the stage, and quieter than the roar of fans? In the world of perfume, there is a concept rarely discussed outside professional circles: trace. A good fragrance is not only smelled at the moment it is first sprayed, but leaves behind a sillage, a subtle trail that remains even after the wearer has gone. This trace is often what distinguishes an ordinary perfume from an iconic one. When Jungkook spoke about the long-lasting woody elements in Bleu de Chanel, he seemed, perhaps unconsciously, to touch upon this concept, about something that remains, even as time moves forward and contexts change. For an idol who has spent most of his life under the public spotlight, the idea of a trace carries powerful emotional resonance. Music can change, trends can fade, but an identity embedded in the public consciousness is far harder to erase. Chanel, as a fashion house obsessed with permanence, understands this deeply. It is therefore unsurprising that its conversation with Jungkook was directed toward matters that transcend products. Scent became an entry point to discuss time, endurance, and the meaning of lasting amid change. The silence that fills several moments in the teaser is not an aesthetic coincidence. In cinematic language, silence is often used to give viewers space to interpret what is left unsaid. Chanel and El Korea appear keenly aware of this power. By not filling every second with dialogue or music, they allow viewers to feel a subtle tension, the sense that something important is happening, even if it is not fully shown. This is the most sophisticated form of clickbait, not one that shouts, but one that whispers. And that whisper grows stronger when we remember that this is only the first part of the conversation. A simple phrase, yet one loaded with implications. It promises continuation, while also signaling that what we have seen so far is merely the surface. In cultural journalism, such division often suggests that what follows will be more personal, more reflective, or even more risky. Will Jungkook speak of his music as scent? Of how his songs are created through a process not unlike Perfume, layer by layer with patience and control? ARMY's emotional reactions on social media can be read as responses to this tension. The flood of praise is not solely about Jungkook's looks or fashion, but about an aura perceived as different. Many describe him as more mature, calmer, even more mysterious. This is no minor shift. In a fandom ecosystem acutely sensitive to every detail, a change in aura often signals the beginning of a new phase. And Chanel seems fully aware that it is documenting a moment of transition, not merely a collaboration. To this point, the phrase dark secret no longer feels excessive. Dark not because it implies wrongdoing, but because it resides in the inner realm rather than under bright spotlights. The secret may lie in the pressure to remain consistent with a carefully constructed image. It may lie in creative compromises never spoken of before cameras, or it may lie in the realization that every chosen scent, every spoken word, now becomes part of a grand narrative that extends beyond the individual. When the full interview is eventually released in an upcoming edition of El Korea, the public may receive more answers. Yet like a great perfume, some mystery may be intentionally left unresolved, because that is precisely where its power lies. A fragrance fully explained often loses its allure. The same is true of the meeting between Jungkook and Olivier Polge. What makes it compelling is not what is said explicitly, but what can only be felt. And perhaps that is where the whisper truly works, not as a secret sentence that can be quoted, but as an experience. Something that enters Jungkook's consciousness, lingers slowly, and one day resurfaces in an unexpected form. A song, an attitude, or even a new silence that feels strangely familiar. Because like the finest Chanel fragrances, whatever was whispered in that room does not seem meant to be immediately understood, but to be remembered, long after the bottle is closed and the cameras are turned off.